always was a good thief.
That you was. Yeah, get out of here.
The many miles we walk, the many things we learn.
This was a scene from Red Dead Redemption 2 that changed my life. When the COVID hit the world, I had just received an offer of admission to the Master of Digital Media program. The worldwide disaster interrupted my admission and visa process. During these stressful times, I turned to video games to relieve my anxiety and protect my mental health. And I played video games more than ever, the whole spring and summer of 2020. I played Red Dead Redemption 2, Spider-Man PS4, The Last of Us, God of War, Journey, Monument Valley, and many games. As I played more, I noticed something interesting is happening with the soundtrack in these games. It didn't matter how long my rides take in Red Dead Redemption 2 or how many streets I pass, shooting webs and swinging in Spider-Man. The music kept playing and adapting to the environment and my actions seamlessly. For example, if a peaceful horse riding in Red Dead Redemption 2 turns to a shoot fight, music becomes more energetic and active to add tension and excitement. The adaptive music significantly impacted the narrative and created an immersive experience for me. Deciding when to change the music and how to change it seamlessly is a highly complex and complicated problem because of the unpredictability of gameplay. Therefore, I decided to figure out how adaptive music works and find new applications for it. There wasn't a video game music course in our program, so I designed my own video game music course with the help of my fantastic supervisor, Dr. Christopher Alexander, known as the video game professor. He suggested studying the soundtrack of the video game Gorogoa, composed by Joel Korelitz. He is one of the great composers in the video game industry who has composed the original soundtrack for Death Stranding, Halo Infinite, and recently Eastward for Nintendo Switch. Gorogoa is an interactive story within 4 tiles inside a 2x2 panel. It's about the story of a boy who goes on a journey to find the meaning of life. The game consists of various unique puzzles that he should solve by clicking on objects and moving the tiles. Each tile contributes to part of each level's story. While a tile might present a completely different environment, they all work in conjunction towards one goal and are closely related. The structure of the game enabled Joel to treat it like a loop machine. He created loops that are always compatible, and the music you hear is unique to how you arrange the tiles and objects inside them. In a way, the player is the composer of the soundtrack. With such structure, music can smoothly adapt to each scene's mood. The music not only sets the atmosphere, but it also guides the player to move forward. The game doesn't have any instructions or dialogues. You know you're on the right path when you hear certain sounds or melodies. This sound means that you have solved a puzzle. Red Dead Redemption 2 also used a similar approach, sequencing and mixing layers of loops on top of each other. It's called horizontal and vertical mixing. However, Joel's approach is a bit different. His loops are always compatible, which is sophisticated considering the problem of rhythm and harmony in tonal music. His work was inspired by a project called In B Flat.
My life's work, he says, but it isn't her life's work.
You see, we store information like an Escher painting. It shouldn't.
I decided to try this approach and make a short piece consisting of several loops that are compatible. This is the result. I can play, for example, the piano and add any of the other instruments at any time. Rhythm and harmony aren't stopping me anymore. To give you an idea of how dynamic this approach is, look at these music lines. This is how music works in Red Dead Redemption 2. Woody Jackson adds or drops specific layers of music or instruments at certain points using loops. This approach is great for making melodic music, but since the lines should be rhythmically and harmonically in sync, loops can be added only at specific points. With Joel's approach inspired by In B Flat project, you can add any line at any point. The great thing about this approach is that music can be played for a long time without becoming repetitive, because it takes a very long time for the loops to get back to the same point where they started together in the beginning, and the piece is constantly changing. This is perfect for creating ambient music or sound atmospheres. Another thing that I noticed is that Gorogoa doesn't have a specific melody. I cannot remember and sing its tune, but Joel has created a musical atmosphere, a sound world that I recognize. This is called soundscape. Cities have soundscapes. Downtown has a specific sound, and suburb has a different sound. Toronto's sound is different from Tehran's sound. This made me think about great opportunities for gamification of music in urban environments as soundscape. I discussed this with my dear friend Roosbe Svandarmas, who is an amazing musician. He said by implementing adaptive music in real settings, you aren't playing a video game anymore, you're actually in the game. Since music and sound are universal languages, they don't need explanation, and such an approach can also provide accessibility for disabled people. For example, imagine a blind person enters the bank. The music of the bank adapts to the number of people in the line. The blind person can realize if the line is short or long by listening to the bank's tune. This is just an example, but isn't it amazing? I hope you've enjoyed my research. Thank you so much for staying with me.
The building of a shrine, only just to burn. That's the way it is. That's the way it is.